the best musicians are the most honest, the ones that the performances that resonate with me, no matter what kind of music. It's like you can see someone bearing their soul, and it's very, very difficult. I think as humans, like we're inclined to be open and transparent with the people that we're closest to, and we kind of have the exterior that we show to someone else. And so playing a song that you wrote, it's like playing it well is one of the most honest things. And it's really a way to you can really look inside of someone, if that makes sense. And so I guess in a life lesson sense, it's like being settled in yourself, is going to yield the best notes.
And here we are on the Weird Music Podcast with Mr. Greg Knight. How are you, sir?
Fantastic, Tim. Thank you so much for having me on. Great to see that Weird Music is back.
Yes, lovely to see your face again. It's been too long. So for anyone out there who doesn't know Greg Knight, he is a major player in the jam scene, marketing, PR world. He's been in the Goose camp for years. But Greg, I'll let you do the honors. You want to kind of, let us all in on kind of your background, how you got started, really, working in the music business?
Yeah, it's kind of like a winding path for how I got here, which I think is the case for a lot of people. So I started, let's see, I've always been very attached to music. I started playing piano when I was 5, started playing guitar in high school. When I got to college, I played in a couple different bands, none of whom were very good, but certainly kind of like got that first taste for traveling around with my instruments, and a few people, listening to music. And I'd always also been into production. So I was, making a lot of hip hop and whatnot, and like just kind of DJing, producing, really doing whatever I could to be in the live setting. And that led to some pretty cool gigs in Connecticut. As a DJ, I played shows with people like Kendrick Lamar early in his career before Good Kid, Mad City came out, Waka Flocka Flame, Juicy J, and really amazing stuff, like crazy energy, and like really gave me this push to think like maybe I can do something in the industry. And although I love hip hop, I also am huge into jam music. And so kind of apples and oranges there. But I started, my junior year of college when Fish came back was when I really started to hit the road, city to city, see as much music as I could, really like, tour. And I think from then on, I knew that it was a world I wanted to be involved in. And that took some time, definitely. And I think some fortuitous circumstances, having some friends who have ultimately become pretty successful and led to me getting an opportunity to work with Goose. And, as everyone knows, it's been a big few years for them. And so I think, my success in a sense has mirrored theirs.
And I know that months ago you were, maybe this was pre-COVID, doing something related to music education. Is that?
Yeah.
Speak a little bit about that.
I still am. Yeah. So I work for the Kennedy Center. Kennedy Center in tandem with Tony Bennett's nonprofit called Exploring the Arts. And I direct a program called Turnaround Arts New York City. And essentially we use the arts to transform school communities. So I work specifically with middle schools in the Bronx. And we are centering arts and music in the daily schedule. So it's not just like buying tubas, and hoping things happen, as much as it's looking at how we can like strategically integrate art into curriculum, to just make schools into thriving arts hubs. And so, as you know, there's been a ton of challenges presented by the pandemic, and specifically in New York City schools. So many have been closed, and so it's the past year has really, I think, afforded the opportunity for me to focus a little bit more on the PR, the marketing, and in anticipation of school coming back, but it's been really, really cool to have these two roles that kind of lend to one another.
That's awesome. So then take me through how you kind of got started, working in the jam scene. Like, was it originally PR that you were doing, writing press releases, dealing with outlets? Like,
Yeah, so at first I would do whatever I possibly could to get a ticket to anything. So like I remember the first time I like had a crew pass for a festival. It was Catskill Chill 2013, and I rode up with my friends in the Cosmic Dust Bunnies, great band from New Haven, Connecticut, and I just was like moving equipment, right? And even the early days of Goose, I was moving equipment, whatever, just like I was there to just do whatever I possibly could to get a ticket to a show, and as I spent more time with the guys in Goose and they started to develop, I realized that they and a lot of kind of up and coming bands focus exactly on what they need to get done. That's like writing music, getting from show to show, but there's not really an initial thought about the overall package and like what your narrative can kind of say about you and how your story is being told. But you don't focus on that when you're first just trying to play some shows and gain some fans. And so I still have this English degree, and I was very, very concerned about whether or not I was going to use it. It's like, let me try to write some stuff. And the guys just gave me the opportunity to start putting together press releases and whatnot. And I had a whole bunch of guidance from management, people like Matt Kalinsky, who have worked with, prior to Goose, worked with, Pigeons and Turklaus and Spafford, like just a lot of institutional knowledge and people in my corner. And having that opportunity to just write and write and write. In the early days, I was like incessantly hitting up outlets, and that led to building some relationships with like people at Relics or Live for Live. And so from there, it's just grown. I'm still not entirely sure how I got here. But I can say to anyone out there who is just trying to sell merch and move amps around, there is a future.
No, that's so awesome to hear. Like, you just started out in the trenches, like elbows in the mud, doing whatever. You've got this English degree though, and fast forward, you're a writer, you're dealing with music education, and so now what bands do you do the PR and marketing communications for?
Yeah, so Goose this is my first, and then Twiddle, Pigeons. Twiddle and Pigeons are on the same management company, 1111. So it ended up kind of just being a natural. There's some opportunities there, and the guys at 1111 were already hearing from me enough during the week that they're like, okay, why don't you write these press releases for these guys? And then I just started working with Melt from New York City, really extra soft hoodies, great design, So Melt's awesome. I just did their album cycle for them. Just picked up Baked Shrimp from a New York band. They're a 3-piece. Whole lot of potential there. Hopefully they're playing on Weird Wednesdays this summer. And I've had some kind of one-off projects with some other heavy hitters through my friends at Jam Flow Management. So I did some work for Solomon, which is Russ and Ray from Tab, and also Lamp, which is Russ, Ray, and Scott Metzger from J-Rod. And so like those little one-off things have been really, really cool little looks, and just I guess we see so many artists who are doing big things, and almost all of them have a couple different side projects that they're working with, and so I've picked up a few of those, and that's been pretty cool. I did Alan Evans from Soul Live. I did a cycle for him at the end of last year. So yeah, it's a healthy mix of, I think, young up and comers and some people who are really established. And yeah, it's a kind of a weird feeling when you're doing stuff for people you've been watching play for 15 years. It's been kind of surreal. But I'm I'm ready for it. I'm ready for whatever's next if people out there need PR.
Yeah. So now I want to hear from you, it's
Mhm.
obvious you've got a great perspective looking at, through the lens of many brands, you're a professional with this. What are some common themes that you see working really well from a PR, branding, marketing perspective, throughout bands, throughout, artists?
Yeah, I think two things. One is just consistent and accessible, well-branded material, right? Even if no matter what you do, if you're confident in it and you give it to the people who care about you enough, they're gonna come back and they're gonna want to hear more, right? Just like the way that Goose started doing Soundboard Sundays a couple years ago. Consistent, consistent, consistent. You knew where to find it. And over the years, you could start to hear how the band would grow and develop. And people, I think just being consistent allows people a window into your growth and your development, and people start to feel ownership, when they really follow you over time. So I think that's one. And then just a commitment to authenticity is the big thing. It's very, very difficult as musicians, right, to know how to package yourself, right? And then there's, I think, a deep intimacy in professing your art to a lot of people. It's very, it's not an easy thing to do. Even if I play anywhere, my knees still shake, but just being authentic and letting that true you radiate through is what people are attached to, and so I think it's way easier to try and be yourself than it is to, wear a crazy outfit and do something different just for just for the attention. And so when that happens, when that consistency is there, it makes it super easy to talk about, and the story starts to tell itself.
So have you played a part in that like identity based conversation with a band about how they can ensure authenticity, how they can be as authentic as possible? Like what kind of advice could someone give? Like it seems like such an elusive thing, authenticity. You just kind of do it.
Right. Right. And so, yeah, exactly. And I think it's not even like, I don't really think about being an integral part of a band being authentic. It's more so like bands have their ideas, and some of them are stronger than others. Some of them I may not think are strong, but they end up being incredible. And so it's really like, if this is what a band wants to do, I'm here to make sure that this idea can like take to the side to the sky and soar. I would rather go the distance with the most obscure idea than try and like present one to somebody, and I think like as opposed to telling someone to be authentic, it's just acknowledging their idea and their vision and ushering that forward. That belief is like the most important thing, and so that to me is where the value lies.
Wow. Nice. I want to let that land for a second.
Sure. Sure.
That's awesome. So you're a musician yourself, you're working with bands and I mean, I'm sure you've seen it from friends everywhere. I mean, life is tough right now. Life is tough. And for many people, music, it's therapeutic. It's something that, they may have like they may feel like it's a cloudy day, going 9 to 5, and a lot of people are depressed. So with that being said, music, I mean, it's really been something instrumental to culture since before language. It's something that's spiritual. It's something that is like intertwined in what it means to be human. So, painting that picture, I want to hear from you. Like, do you feel some sort of significance or larger meaning relating to your work?
That's a good question. And one thing I'll say is these instruments on the wall are really dusty. Been pretty busy. But I don't know. I mean, I think that's a good question. I think to some extent, this is something that's always spoken to me, like music has for me as a person, as you said, been incredibly therapeutic, has carried me through and continues to motivate me. Um, but I don't know. I haven't ever really thought about the kind of cosmic alignment and what it really means. Although I do care deeply about ensuring that as many people have access to music as possible. So it's not even just like the PR thing, as much as like my day job is to make sure that kids can learn, as much about the arts and how it intersects with everyday life as possible. So I guess I'm thinking about this more than I thought I was thinking about this, but I do think like there is such tremendous value there. And so many people don't have access points, to music. They don't have access to be able to understand that they're even good at it, that they have potential, and I think one of the beautiful things about music is like the learning process is just based on making mistakes, and it's based on improvement and self-improvement, and whatever level of commitment you have as a person to it, you can let that guide you forward. And so, man, I don't know. I guess really it's just like I want to keep doing this, so I may as well take everyone with me.
And part of what I'm picking up is like through music education, at least specifically, like you learn life skills through learning music. And
Right.
and you're saying, that is instrumental in your motivation to really, spread it as much as you can. Let me ask you, like, give me some more examples. Obviously hard work and working through mistakes those are some good ones. What are some other life principles that maybe let me pivot my question. What are some life principles that you feel like through music or just through life that you feel deeply connected to that have led to you having the degree of success you have?
Yeah. So I think on almost a base level, like honesty, it's I think to be a good musician, one that draws someone in, the best musicians are the most honest, the ones that the performances that resonate with me, no matter what kind of music, it's like you can see someone bearing their soul, and it's very, very difficult. I think as humans, like we're inclined to be open and transparent with the people that we're closest to, and we kind of have the exterior that we show to someone else. And so, playing a song like you wrote, it's like playing it well is one of the most honest things, and it's really a way to you can really look inside of someone, if that makes sense. And so I guess in a life lesson sense, it's like being settled in yourself, is going to yield the best notes. So that's certainly been something I think for me. And then it comes to a head when you're like, man, I could have played this really well if I practiced more. So there's there's the perseverance thing, and oh man, Cam, you got these deep questions that I wasn't thinking about on a Saturday morning. Yeah, let me think more about this.
Well,
And even if we
that's a
get back
great
to it,
answer. I mean, the thing that's really captivated me about live music, and specifically the type of live music that I am most compelled by, is just the vulnerability and just how, like, it to me it's like I'm in awe of seeing a performer on stage just like putting their all into it, like right there in the moment, letting it all out. That to me, like, whether or not the music is technically like qualified as good, like I'm just blown away by that human quality.
right,
And
right,
that can only be when, like, that is just full blast 100% honesty. I
right.
love that answer.
Yeah, I mean, and it's like it can be any kind of music, right? I'm just like happy to see that kind of self-expression, and it's like whether it's Rick from Goose playing soulful notes, or it's like Weird Al. There's something to be taken from everything. There's something there, and so yeah. I mean, I think that's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing, and then there's, I think, the saying, like, if you like the same band as someone, you're not strangers. Something like that. Like, I think there's also this community aspect too. Like, certainly being involved in this scene has allowed me to form so many lifelong friendships, with people that I probably would have never met. And the older I get, the more I realize people stop making friends. Like, a lot of people get settled into their ways, and that's that for them. Cam, once you hit 30, call me and we'll talk more about this. And so I think, like, this is a unique situation where I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep forming these relationships. I'm going to keep meeting new people, keep opening my eyes to new things. And that's something I really, really appreciate too, is that opportunity. It keeps me, I don't know. I don't want to say keeps me young, because I'm not that old, but certainly keeps me sharp, and that's, like, people tend to forget about that, and I think the older you get, if you become more closed off, you just end up being kind of a curmudgeon, listening to the same songs on your iPod or something. And so I am committing to not doing that.
Yeah, you gotta be open to new experiences, for real.
Right, for sure.
And that's something, like, old, young, I mean, routine, it's inertia. People want to keep doing whatever they feel comfortable doing. And what that leads to, it dilutes that relative like feeling when you keep having the same thing. They call it a tolerance. I'll talk about a weed tolerance at length, and it's
sure.
A little break. You gotta be open to new seasons. That's really cool. I want to take a step back and then jump over to the other side of the ski mountain here.
Sure.
So you said you really got going with music as an artist, like, so we're talking about honesty and just how awesome it is to see someone performing their music on stage. I want to ask you about songwriting. Just from 3,000 feet in the air, like, how do you approach songwriting? Maybe you don't do it much these days, but when you used to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I used to. So for me, it's interesting because I think, as, like, for a while I was writing wildly different music, right? So, like, with hip hop stuff, it's all lyric driven, and so I would write bars, just like lyrics, and really, like, play with the rhythm of my words for a long time. Like, that was when I was writing hip hop. Like, that was what it was, and then it was, let me find music that is suitable to these words. Since I've been writing more, guitar driven stuff, it's kind of almost the inverse, where I try to start with melody, and then build from there. And so it's been cool to do both, and I think, like, in ways I can do both pretty well, but I'm not excellent at either. But it's two, like, wildly different approaches. And so maybe one day when I have more time, I'll be able to fuse the two.
Rad. Cool. So now, we've been talking a lot about, how you've gotten to where you've gotten today, and, maybe what you think's really gotten you along that journey. I want to ask you, like, Greg Knight, 10 years down the road. I mean, right now you're playing a huge part in many bands that are really crushing it. And, I want to ask you, where do you see yourself 10 years down the road?
So part of the past few years, what I've really learned is, especially in this industry, the biggest thing about making it, whatever making it means, is perseverance. It takes so long, and it's not like the normal corporate structure somewhere where you do X, Y, and Z, you move forward, in a couple of years you're a manager. Like, this is, it's it's just so much of it is about keeping your head on a swivel and continuing to learn. And so I think I don't always want to be just in a PR role. I think I'm good at what I do in that sense. I would love to manage a couple bands over time, if the right opportunity presents itself. But in 10 years, I'm hoping to still be doing what I'm doing, and hopefully in 10 years have enough clout to put some bands on, that I see kind of are up and comers and can do big things. And my 20-year plan is to open a restaurant. So if I'm in my early 50s and I've made it far enough that I can hang it all up and open a small restaurant with a few tables, that's where I'd love to be.
I think I can remember a conversation you and I had at Goose like 2019, where you were telling me that your art is with food. So for anyone out there listening who doesn't know, we've been talking about all this music, but Mr. Knight here is a chef.
Amateur chef. That's so writing a good song is very similar to making an incredible dish, right? You need those same important components that heat up in the right way, and if the music hits right or the flavor hits right, you've got a really good dish. And so I've always been like, both of my parents love to cook, and I just, something that really, like, I've always really taken to. And so I've just committed to like learning over the years. And I've changed my diet a few times in the past few years to like dive into some different types of cuisine. And I don't know, food it's such a basic thing that, like, just like music brings people together, like just the way we could go to a concert together and share an incredible experience. We could break bread together and it could be the same kind of thing, and so I don't know, I mean, I love it. And I guess probably, to be honest, I took to cooking better than I did learning scales on guitar. So I was like, all right, if I'm going to practice one thing, let it be this. But yeah, food is just, it's the thing. It's the thing. And so, I like that also so much about the decisions you make with what you eat can dictate how you feel, like I can go to a concert and feel really good after, but it's not as good as if I eat a, hearty vegetable based dish. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like if I can, in a couple decades, when I'm sick of hitting the road, if I can have a place where all these people I know that are driving through stop by for a good meal, that'll make me smile.
So how do you deploy honesty in cooking? How do you keep that honest and authentic?
Let people trust you with the seasoning. I think maybe like that's a good question. That's a really good question. Next time you're on the East Coast, when you come home, stop by to eat, and we'll see if we can answer it.
That's a great answer. That's a great answer. Awesome. Well, Greg, man, this has been fantastic. Thanks again for coming on. I love everything you shared. I definitely I feel like, heard some things that have been valuable. Anything else you want to say to leave anyone who's listened through this far off? Anything you want to leave them with?
I had some questions for you, Cam.
Oh yeah.
Ohio is popping this summer. There's a lot going on. I assume you're going to be at Legends Valley a lot. Mm-hmm. What shows are you most excited to see this summer?
So the producer of the Weird Music podcast, her name is Katie Daly. She's my girlfriend. She's awesome. Her birthday is June 18th when Goose is hitting Legend Valley. So that's right there. The workout is going to be off the chain. The special Disco, the works, Dopapod, Papadocio. That's going to be epic. Oh man, I'm excited to see a lot of friends that it's been too long though. Like
Yeah.
just really like the culture of it. You know, I'm getting my second shot here soon. And yeah, I mean, you said it well earlier on, like the community aspect of it is like right up there with the music. And you know, the jam band that is the fan group, that's, you know, I got a ticket to see them.
Yeah. So okay, one more.
Mm-hmm.
Ohio has been incredibly special. It's a special place, I think, for just about every band I work with holds Ohio in reverence. So what is it that's so special about Ohio? I know Ohio gets a lot of flack in the meme world. But like, what's so special? What's so special about Ohio? Like, why does it exist, and why is it so special to me?
Yeah, now that's a great question. I'd say it's a little bit of a coincidence that there's been some people who have really paved a path. They've really, you know, built scene. Um, so acoustic hookah has a rich history in Ohio. Hookahville, uh, I believe they were having like over 20,000 people in like the 90s and 2000s. Like Bob Weir played with acoustic hookah, big like fest, and acoustic hookah is still playing today. They inspired, I know they played a part in inspiring the works. Rob Chafin and the works. So Rob Chafin runs the Summit Music Hall. He's been booking shows in Columbus for as long as I've been seeing shows in Columbus. So people like Rob, people like Chris Salvato, who Chris Salvato's probably put on over 1,500 shows in Columbus. So it's like, I mean, just the real, like, that's not anything other than like Ohio's lucky to have had those people. And I guess it's a little bit of a lineage. It's a little bit of people who've inspired other people. And you know, it's carried on strong. I can tell you that they've inspired others, and there's competition. Woodlands Tavern, there's a company named What Productions. They are more in the EDM scene. They have this thing called What Festival. Awesome group of people. And yeah, I mean, there's just really the demand for live music. Columbus itself, as well as I can speak a little bit about Cincinnati and Cleveland. While Ohio may be lots of cornfields, there's a little bit of like almost an Austin, Texas situation, like a super progressive, lots of young people, the huge art culture that exists in those little pockets. So just really coming from the East Coast and coming out here, like per capita, the amount of just like-minded individuals, you know, people who are interested in just looking at life and the world and music in all different ways. It's so cool to see. Ohio State here in Columbus, 60,000 people go there, and it's the #1 foreign exchange university in the country. So there's just so many people from all around, like really the world here in Columbus. So you can get all kinds of music. And I think it's just really, there's life through all of that, which, I mean, I can't speak much about Ohio, but I can say that the cities in Ohio, it's fucking awesome.
Yeah. Well, I think you're an important part in that lineage, you know. So keep doing what you're doing.
I'm grateful to be here. I've seen it from all the nooks and crannies, and it's just something I'm so glad to be a part of.
Glad to have you, man. I look forward to coming out for Katie's birthday on Legend Valley.
Woo! That's gonna be awesome. Yo, Greg, you're the man, dude. I'm so glad we got to have this conversation. Thanks for having those questions for me, and talking about lineage. Like, dude, so cool to see you doing what you're doing with all those bands.
Cam, thanks a lot. I'm excited to see what comes next, and I look forward to seeing you soon.